Jesus said your problem is a heart problem.
This one for anybody on the scope. This one for anybody losing hope. Pray for your enemies, keep them close. Pray for your enemies, keep them close. God finna prepare the table. God finna prepare the table.
I just pray that you protect it and allow the episode to record. I just pray that you use me and Vika to be a vessel to flow through you, and that we are a light. I pray for the person who's listening to this episode that they're just touched and that they get whatever you're looking for in terms of growing in your faith, growing Christian friends, or just obeying whatever it is you're calling us to do. So we just pray this in your name. Amen. Welcome to Keeping Up with Cash, you guys. It's your host, Cash Money Morgan. Let's go. And my beautiful, amazing guest, Vika.
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Vika, do we even give the enemy credit tonight? Like, guys, this is our fourth time trying to record this podcast. Like, you don't understand. I have never had this kind of an issue on the podcast ever. Of course, we're on site at the Bass Pro headquarters in Springfield, Missouri, because they are giving Christmas, guys. Bass Pro, beautiful here. I feel safe. And also, if you ever want to sponsor the podcast, I'm in my Bass Pro era, so I'm here for it. We are like... We had a SD card malfunction. Me and Vika, who are not technologically savvy, we are like Googling and all the things. Vika, you're a trooper. Thanks for sticking around for like 2 hours trying to record this podcast.
Hey, it's worth it.
Yeah. Oh, you're so sweet. Wait, where did my notes even go?
It's right there. It's right there.
Wait, oh, thank you. Hi, guys. So basically, as you guys know, we're doing a series on the podcast. Before we get into that, though, a few housekeeping items. One, the podcast party is February 21st. Woo! Yes, guys, it's going to be huge at the Riff in Springfield, Mo. We're going to have a live show. We're going to have an artist releasing new merch, interactive games. Like, it's open to the public. We're going to be announcing all of the details in January, but it's open to the public. We'd love for you guys to come. Jesus, creatives, fashion, vendors. It's going to be so fun. Like the live show of my dreams. We want God to cook and just really have it like a creative ministry night, outreach, all the things. Just awesome. What are you most excited for the pod party, Vika?
Well, obviously you.
Girl.
Seeing all your fits. Guys, Morgan has the best
You are
fits
so sweet.
ever.
I am getting a custom fit made, but
I am not surprised. I'm so not surprised.
You already know it's gonna be from Love Brand.
Yeah.
You're the best.
Yes, but on a serious note, I'm just excited to just like see like a lot of different people there, and like just, you know, like what type of people like this event is gonna bring, and just to see everybody like interact and like build friendships, build connections, and just like how this event will affect them too. Like I'm excited for that. Just like meeting people, you know?
Yeah, no, we're so excited. We obviously am downtown. We've been doing a lot of young adult stuff just in the church and locally, you know, praying over homeless people. Like, whatever the vibe is, just really excited to invest in creatives and allow that to be a ministry, and like God used that. I mean, you know, God created art and all that stuff. Like, that's part of that. So it's just really excited about all of that. And one last thing as well, I obviously have my own business while also having a part-time job. Cash Creative, I do social media management. So if you're interested in any social media efforts or anything under the marketing umbrella, feel free to give me a call or reach out to me on DM or my email, mpagel@cash-creative.com. But we're also looking for sponsors for the podcast or for this event. So if you are ever interested, there's only a few slots available, whatever. We can talk about what that looks like. But yeah, we just want to partner with people that believe in the same mission and honestly rock with the same vibe. So if you're interested in that, we are looking for that as well. But now, without further ado, Vika, welcome to the podcast. That is so loud. Oh my gosh. Guys, you don't even understand the lore that just occurred. For 2 hours, we recorded 2 episodes. Like, the first time we did it for 20 minutes, second time we did it for 20 minutes, and I look over and it's not recording, and we're both like scared, honestly. Yeah. Stressful night. But what it's crazy, and I was telling Vika, because when I recorded my testimony, this is the same thing happened. Not necessarily like this stopped recording as well. So obviously I have an SD card storage problem in my life. I need to get that squared away. But I was like, dude, I recorded this so many times, and I'm like, bro, I don't know if the enemy's attacking me. And even tonight, like, it's getting late. It's gonna be a late night, but you know what? Like, this episode needs to happen, and we made all this effort to be here, and like, praise God, I brought my camera, so I had an extra SD card to pop this in here, and now it's working. Like, praise God.
Hey, and perseverance builds character, so.
Right, and we're not gonna, like, a few obstacles are not gonna stop us from talking about what God's put in our heart and like helping, you know, spread the word and the message and that kind of thing. So anyways, you guys, tonight's episode, as you know, I'm in a series about kind of like growing in your faith for a beginner. We are not saying that we are experts in any way, definitely far from that, but I wish I would have kind of had something like this when I was in that phase. So one was my testimony and like that kind of thing, you know, get an accountability partner. And now we're going into developing Christian friendships, like questions you want to ask, what that looks like, community, that kind of thing. And of course I had to ask my girly swirly Vika on here. Yes girl. Yes girl. So Vika and I have been friends for less than a year, but we are very tight and locked in. And honestly, discussing like how we met. But before we even do that, we need a fun fact about you. Yes, so people understand like who you are.
Oh God. Okay. Well, obviously, you know, preface, like Morgan has like 10 billion fun facts.
Yeah,
and then
I'm always ready to go.
I'm like, I only have this one fun fact that's maybe not even that fun, just because I recently had to think about it. But honestly, mine is just like, I'm just super emotional. I get very emotional about things, and like, it can be deep, it can not be so deep, but if it's like, if there's a lot of heart in it, like, I would cry.
No, that's good. No, we were talking about that, and honestly, it's like, I had situations in college I was really emotional, and then I wasn't after college, and now it's like when you're back locked in with God, like like different perspective, like things, like now I'm like, oh my gosh, this bird, like I don't even like birds, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, oh mother, yeah.
And sometimes it's like a silly thing that'll just like, it's just cutesy, so it's making me cry, or it's like a deeper thing where it's like nature, creation, like I see God in this and this and this, and it's like, it's so beautiful to me. And so it's like the closer you get to the Lord, like the more he softens your heart, and like, you know, it just makes you a mess.
No, I think it's good.
In a good way.
And like, I think you're very empathetic, and I think that's awesome because it's a strength, like being able to relate to people, because certain girls in our small group have jobs that are very mentally hard, and I'm like, I could never do that. And I don't understand, but like, even being for them in that role, that's their gift of being like, you know, this is what I'm called to do. I'm gonna be able to relate to these people and be a light to them. And so it's just like, that's a strength in you, you know.
Thanks,
and
girl.
we support you, emotional queen. Guys, so Vika and I were discussing how we met. Before we do that, our Starbucks order, even though we got it like 3 hours ago.
Even though it's basically done. That's how good it is.
Slay. So I'm obviously Latina, but I feel like my drink is very like a white girl. It's a hot grande chai latte with a pump of gingerbread and cinnamon on top. But it's so good, guys. It's so good. Honestly, and I'm like, it's like 11 o'clock and I'm still drinking caffeine.
Hey,
that's crazy.
Lord knew we needed this tonight, okay? But mine is like less coffee, more sugar.
Pop off.
And that is exactly how I like my coffee. I don't actually love coffee. I like the flavor of it. I love the flavor of it. So this is just a caramel ribbon crunch. Very sugary, very sweet. And that's
we support you, queen.
My love for coffee.
It's good. I'm kind of similar. Like, I don't really like coffee unless I need it. And if I'm going to drink it, it's going to have, like, the lattes and the sugars and the spices. And so it's like, But, yes. Okay, so Vika's one of my besties for the Rusties. And we were basically discussing how we met. And we talked about it the other day for, like, 30 minutes. And then we were like, okay, we're so tight. But, like, how did we even get here? So I don't know.
It's a journey. Just kidding. Honestly, it happened so fast.
Yes.
But let's just start with, I moved in to Springfield like a little bit more than a year ago. Signed up to her small group, never showed up.
It's okay. I'm a girly in sales, so like rejection. You know, I'm pretty okay with rejection, honestly.
Oh my
Still
goodness.
single, so
so I knew of her, but I never like actually introduced myself. And so maybe like 9 months later into like being in Springfield, I just like saw her at church one time, and I literally just came up to her. Guys, take notes.
Seriously. Yeah.
I just came up to her and I was like, hey, my name is Vika. I'm new here. I'm trying to find a community, trying to find friends. Like, would you want to hang out sometime? That's it.
Yeah. No, I thought it was so cool. Like, she just came up to me, and at first I was like, maybe this girl just doesn't want to join the small group, and that's fine. I mean, to each their own. And then she's like, hey, girl, I want to hang out with you. And I was like, period. Let's go hang out. Like, what? And now we're happily in friendship. Love. Okay, I'm just kidding. No, seriously. But, like, I mean, it's that simple, dude. For a guy too, obviously rejection is scary for anybody, but
For
really,
sure.
like, just going up and being like, hey, I think you're cool, like, can we just hang out? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
it's
I'm so
scary.
yeah.
It's scary, guys. Like, I do want to say, like, I wasn't just like, oh yeah, I'm like I'm an introvert at heart. So like, this is something that I've like learned to do. I've learned to be like, okay, I need to go and say hi. I need to go and like introduce myself. Like, I need to like put myself out there, you know, even for friends. Like, it's not just for relationships. And so it was scary. Like, I had no idea like who this girl is really. Like, you know, I didn't know much about her. I didn't know like, are we gonna click? Is she gonna think I'm a weirdo for doing this? Like, I don't know.
No. She's like, then I heard Morgan's fun facts and I realized that there's nothing that could top those. So, no. No, I thought it was cool. And then we hung out a bunch of times and then we went to the Zonti concert together. Yes. And I felt like that night, that was the first time we ever hung out like one-on-one, really.
Yeah.
And we really just like bonded and had a great time. And then from then we really like went on and had like a lot of deep chats. And now we're always just yapping. And we kind of always say too, like yap more, worry less.
Yes.
And so now Vika and I'll be like, want to come over and watch a movie? And we just literally just talk.
We don't ever get to the movie.
No, but we talk about like super deep stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like, well, when did you really find Jesus again? Like those moments and all of this. And that's why we've grown so much, in my opinion, is because we've been really intentional. We're both Christ-centered. We're both in the part of our faith walk where we're like, sold out for God. We want to grow more. We want to be in environments like that. And so I don't know, when you're on the same page like that, when you have that good communication, when you're pretty deep from the jump, I just like, I understand when people like meet and when they're really serious, like they get married pretty fast, because it's like you're not playing around, like it's a like you're a solid person, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I feel like we have a good balance of like, you know, we have like the surfacey level, like you know, the fun chats, but also it's like the deep ones are the ones that matter the most, because that's really what me and Morgan bonded over is like our testimonies, our journeys in life. Like it was pretty similar, honestly. And so I feel like we're so similar in our journeys that like we're able to actually like help each other out and kind of like keep each other accountable in like similar things, and like just really, you know, iron sharpens iron. So like we're really able to like sharpen each other, and like that's what I love about our friendship too, is like, you know, Morgan just says it like it is. Like she just like
Vika be saying it like it is. For every one time I say something, Vika says like 50. Like, you know, it's so good, and I need it. Like, I love it.
It's literally like that is what a friend should do. You know, it does talk about that in the Bible as well. And it's like that's what friends are for. You know, it's like we have to tell each other the truth, speak truth over each other. You know, and like sometimes when we're, you know, like so locked into our doubts and like our thoughts, you know, and just like dwelling on like whatever it is, and it's like you need your girl to like come at you and be like, yo, like here's the truth, like be set free, you know. The truth will set you free. And so just like reminding each other of like the promises that God makes, like encouraging each other, like, hey, like perseverance builds character, you know, like it's okay, like keep going at it, you know, keep trying, like don't give up, and like just reminding ourselves.
Yeah. And obviously it's like when you're in those down moments, you want to run to God first, but there's something so beautiful about having that community too, that's like just even in myself being like, hey Vika, like the enemy is just lying in my mind, right? That is like where he loves to attack. And her being like, girl, this is not true, get in the word, like you know what God says about you, like you need that in your life, you know, and to keep you centered. It's the same thing with relationships, like in romantic, where it's like if the one partner is doing good, you need the other one, you know, if they're doing bad, like to help pull each other up so that you're not always on the same page. But we have a definition of a good Christian friend. A good Christian friend encourages and uplifts each other. You help one another. You grow spiritually through feedback and support. And I think that's huge, right? If I'm going to get better in sales, if you're going to get better at whatever it may be, like we can't get better unless we have feedback on the areas that we need to grow in.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And that's what friends are for. And like, kind of like you said, like I think, you know, like we run towards God, but also like God does, like I believe God put you in my life, you know, and it's like God is using you also to like speak truth into me and to remind me of the truth, you know. So it's like I run to God, but also I'm like, thank you Jesus for Morgan and for like
and for Vika,
and for like putting her in my life so that she can remind me, so she can be used by you, God, and like you can speak through her the truths that I need to hear, the realities that I need to hear, you know, the promises, the reminders that I need to hear. So, and
we're gonna dive a little bit deeper, a bit more on Vika. But another thing we'll say is like in our community for context too, is church camp for me this past year. I was a counselor. Pastor John at Fusion Bible Camp was like, "Oh, you don't have Christian friends? It's because your friends don't know God yet." And that was us having to make a list of people in our life that need Jesus, you know, and that's like our responsibility to help be a light. But coming back and like really locking in on our small group, and like our small group, we literally hang out as a friend group now, which is such a beautiful thing. But I always talk about that we cook spiritually and mentally in the hot tub. Like us girls, we like hot tub on the weekends together, and we talk about the deep stuff, you know. And it's like I am in this season, as you are too, that it's like we're both single in our career, locking in on whatever God has, and when we chat about certain things, it helps us realize like, okay, I actually have this area of like feeling like scared of abandonment and this, and I want God to heal that. I want to go into, you know, marriage someday like healthy and ready to rock, you know, and all these things. And I also want to steward what God put me in Springfield, but it's like I might not have gotten there by myself or just with God. Like when we're having these conversations, when I have my spiritual friends have their eyes on my situation too, I'm like, whoa, I didn't even realize that's what it is. Yeah. You know,
it's like a side perspective that like, you know, when you're in it, like it's so hard for you to see because like you're so like, you know, jaded, you only see what you can see, you know, but it's like you can't see stuff from the side, and that's why you need a community. You need like your close-knit people who can be like, hey, this is what I see from the side. Like, here's a different perspective to the situation. Like, maybe look at it like this, you know? Because there's so many ways to look at a situation or, like, a problem or an issue or whatever it is, you know? And so it is helpful to, like, have a community so that they can show you different perspectives. So you're not just, like, focused and, like, this is what's in front of my eyes and, like, this is what I'm focusing on, you know? Like, there's so much more to the picture.
Yeah, and I think, like, one person's obedience can make a chain reaction. Like, I know for me, it was just like having someone speak life to me at church camp made me want to start the small group and then have the support of my other friends. And then it's like all of a sudden, like this chain reaction of someone obeying what God spoke turns into this friend group that now we're all out here, you know, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Before we get deeper in the pod, because Vika and I can cook on this topic for a minute. Like, we live in it, we believe it, we're supportive about it. Vika, how the heck did you get to, like, why Springfield? And also, like, what do you do for work? You know, like, what's the bio there?
I will start with the easy one.
Okay.
So I actually had literally 3 different jobs living in Springfield. So literally worked in retail, a hospital, and now I got this new job, like, maybe a month ago. I work at Safeway Carriers trucking company. It's an amazing environment. It's a desk job. Never thought I would have a desk job, honestly.
Same,
but
queen. Same.
I'm liking it. It's honestly not bad. And honestly, the people that I work with make it so good. Like, they're all, you know, believers. Like, we start our mornings with prayer together.
That's
and
awesome.
I love that because, guys, like, when you start your morning with prayer, it just sets the tone for the whole entire day. And, like God does amazing things through that because you open the doors for God to move. So that's a little on that. And then how I ended up in Springfield, So before Springfield, I was in Dallas for like 9 months, did ministry school. It was good, but it was rough. Happy I went through it, but also it was definitely a really tough season. And at the end, I was just like battling, like, you know, because I really wanted to stay in Dallas, but then all of a sudden I didn't, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, God, like, where do I go? I don't feel like I want to go home. Like, I don't know where else. Like, do I move to like a completely different state again? And so I never ever thought that I would move to Missouri. Never liked it here. I'll be
Slay.
I'm a city girl.
Me too, girl.
This is really small town vibes, you know? But the Lord is, you know, he works in mysterious ways, and he was just like, what about Missouri? And I was like, no, please no. And he was like, well, why? Like, and I'm like asking him, well, Lord, like, why would I move here? And he's like, for the reasons that you don't want to move here. And it was like, you know, I'm a city girl. I like busy. And he's like, slow down. Like, go to, like, I want you to slow down and like focus on rest and just process. Like, process with me this season that you're going, and really like slow down, because like, you know, I get so busy, and like I'm one of those people that like it's so hard for me to just rest, just put things down and be like, I'm just gonna rest. Like, I feel like I'm not doing enough when I'm resting. I feel like I should be productive, you know, like how do you rest? So the Lord's like, you know, go to Missouri, go to small town, it'll be good for you. So here I am. And then it also helped that my brother lives here and sister-in-law, and you know, they had a baby, and so I love my nephew.
Yeah. No, that's
so that
amazing.
Helps, but yeah.
So feel like since you've been here, do you feel like God's really helped heal a lot of that from that season?
Yeah, 100%. Like, guys, like, God is so good and so faithful, and I'm not gonna cry.
It's okay if you do, though. I mean, it's a safe space.
But it's like, man,
in the Honda
it's like,
CRV. It's like,
like sometimes like you get to like a point in your life, you know, where like the season is so rough that you're like, am I ever gonna get out of this? Am I always gonna keep like falling into the same thing? Am I always gonna like keep like battling with this thing? It's like, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, you know, I don't see a way out of this, like, and it's just like, you know, I felt that, you know, like, and like especially when I first moved here, like it was so rough, like no friends, you know, like nothing really, like I don't know where to go, I don't know where to be, like how to be, and it's like I'm always like at home, you know, and like you get into this like weird like depressive mode, and it's like I'm like, am I ever gonna get out of this? Like, I don't know. And guys, yes, you can get out of this.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus is so good because he worked so good in my life. Like, he helped me, like, for real. Like, it's like when you're in that season of like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it, like, don't rely on your own strength, because I didn't have any strength. It was like, I was like, God, like, only with your strength can I get through this, and like only with you I can get through this. So like I'm just relying on you. I'm like, you know, I was just praying and like asking God for like friends, and then like, you know, and he taught me like, hey, like sometimes, you know, like praying is good, but it's like you have to like take action. So that's where I started to be like, okay, like I need to like go and like find friends. Like I need a community. I really need it. And like one of the things is like what I wanted in Missouri, like in moving here, is like to build a community. And so it's like, okay, like you keep saying that, but like what are you doing, you know? Like if you're just praying but not really doing anything for it, like it's not just gonna fall at your feet. Like you actually have to like step out in faith. And so that was kind of what I did with you too, and like with some other friendships as well. It's just like stepping out in faith and being like, hey, like putting action to your words, putting action to your faith, and like actually going for it and getting it. And like the Lord's like, see, like you got this. Like,
that's so good. And I think sometimes, you know, like God will speak to me or speaks to people, you know, and we're always like, oh, is that God? And I'm like, man, if I feel like God's telling me like go pray for that person, and I'm like, ooh, I'm scared, like, but are you sure? You know, I'm like, why would God be like, don't do that? You know what I'm saying?
Like,
and but you're so right though, is sometimes we'll be like, well, I'm just gonna wait, God, like I'm gonna wait until you really show me. And you're so right, like God will close the door if the door is not meant to be open,
for real.
but you don't know unless you're, exactly what we said, like stepping out in faith. And that's huge, Vika. Like that's a huge story. A lot of people that I know, you know, they go somewhere else and they don't have any friends. And even in my own life, like the certain seasons that are so bad, I look back and I'm like, how did I do that? And there's just certain seasons where every day you need God, but there's certain seasons where you are like non-stop pressing in because seriously you're like, I have no other hope or joy besides seeking God in this moment. I can't do it. And so it's awesome that like, even I know both of our testimonies right now, like we are very motivated, and people are probably like, I know people on my side are like, man, Morgan's content is all Christianese, like all she talks about is God, like is insufferable. And you know, I'm also like, I'm sorry. but it comes from a place of like knowing how broken I was and how redeemed I am. And it's like, I just want you to experience that. And obviously I don't want to like push boundaries or anything like that, you know, but it's like, that's what that motivation comes from, because no matter what the media or anything tries to glamorize, it's like things are fun for a second and then the reality hits the light, and it's like there's emptiness, there's lies, and there's brokenness no matter what you're doing, and like that's what comes, you know.
At the end of the day, it's like there's only one thing that can fulfill you, and like you think that other things will fulfill you, but it's like it's just like a moment like of like pleasure and then like suffering that comes after. And so like Jesus is literally the only way. I mean, and again, it's like we're talking about this because we have experienced this. Like we've literally dealt with the past, you know, we tried other things, it didn't work out, it didn't give us any joy. And so here we are, like, so passionate about Jesus because this is what he did in our lives. And it's like, you know, we're not just like quoting Bible scripture. We're
Yeah.
not just like saying something just because it's right. We're saying it because we've actually experienced the
Yeah.
joy and the relief, and like literally like the truth will set you free. Like we're actually experiencing freedom, and so like we want to share that with other people. Obviously, you know, it's
Yeah.
like when you have something good, like you want other people to have it, and so
Yeah.
that's like our goal. Like
Yeah. And I wanted to speak to a second to my Christian friends that grew up in church, and maybe you've wavered or whatever because your journey is, because I feel like I can really relate to that. But it's like, to the people that have maybe fallen from church and God, and they're out here doing like whatever, like just giving into the flesh.
Yeah.
That's something that I definitely did. And there were moments where I stopped feeling convicted because I was so used to ignoring it that it just kind of like went away a little bit. But also, in those moments that were fun, right? Like going to the club, or like doing certain things, or having an unhealthy relationship with men, like just abusing stuff. You know, that's when, like, as fun as it was in the moment, I would have this huge guilt, or not even just conviction. Like, I feel this like darkness over me, being like, knowing that not only was I doing something that wasn't glorifying God, I was like diminishing my purpose. Like, I literally was like, not only was I disobeying what God called me to do or be, it's because I know there's a call in my life that I'm like, you are not only not obeying me, but like, you're so far from what you're so like called, like the greatest that you could be. And that part was the most heartbreaking for me, that like at 25 I'm now like abstaining from like all these different things, but I'm like, how come I'm like doing less and I'm like way happier? And that's not, but it's just crazy because I'm like, man, it's like all real, you know, like relationships are the real, they're healthy, it's God-centered, friendships are God-centered, there's no games, there's no lies, there's no like confusion in that. Like, obviously we're still human, we have things, but I'm like, I'm living in my purpose, and that's all that matters. Nothing else besides God, and like that situation. Like, I can sleep at night knowing I have no regrets, you know what I'm saying? Or like that's that so overhead guilt, you know what I'm saying?
That's so good.
So thanks, girl, you're so good. But switching gears a little bit, so the main question here is, how do you find Christian friends? Obviously we talked about like you can make your friend, you know, like witness to your circle, but ultimately, like here in Springfield, though, like where are we finding Christian friends at? You know what I'm saying? Jose locals, are we finding them like downtown? Like, where are we finding them at? You know?
Well, that's a good question, but also it's like it doesn't just have to be like Christian friends. It's like you have to ask yourself the question, like, what kind of friends do you want? Like, what am I passionate about? What are you passionate about? Like, it's like, if you're passionate about Jesus, then you go to church to find other Jesus freaks, you know? And so like, you obviously won't go like to some random place where you obviously know there's not going to be any Christian people. And so it's like, if you're into sports, go to some sporty place, and like, you know, like if you're into the gym and you want some gym buddies, you go to the gym to find them. You know, like, you're not going to find them at McDonald's. Like,
I mean, you may, bro.
I mean, girl, who knows? But like, it's just like, the point is like, what are you passionate about? Like, what is the, you know, like, what is that big passion? Like, what do you enjoy doing? And like, go to those places where they will be. And so for my Christian friends, like, go to churches, like, find communities, go to young adult events, like, go to conferences. Honestly, like, I personally like love going to conferences and just trying to meet people. And like, you know, I went to Bible school, like, I met so many amazing friends that, like, you know, for life, you know. And it's like, the one thing that like connects us is Christ, is Jesus. And so if you want friends, like, go get him. Like, go to church, go get him.
No, that's good. And I think a big thing was, you know, for me, like, proximity or time spent, where I analyze like my locations of where I was, and even though maybe like this place and this place isn't like bad to go to, I'm like, okay, I only have so much time in a day. Like, was I effective with that time? You know, was I doing, like, am I there for the right reasons? You know, and that kind of thing. And honestly, like, my accountability partner told me, she was like, Morgan, look at where you're spending your time. You're trying to find a Christian man in a place that is not where they be at, you know? Like, stop trying to make something fit when it's not supposed to fit, you know? And so for us, I'm like, okay, by not going out on a Friday night and hanging out with my girls, getting deep in my loft, you know, or it's like, okay, we're starting like a young adult thing, or we're going to a Christian concert, or like whatever it is. We're putting ourselves in environments and places with our time that are efficient, you know, or like life-giving, or doing things with intention. And so that's kind of been like a big difference, because instead of me just like going out and doing whatever. Now I'm like, okay, I'm either like I'm investing into Vika, you know, I'm investing into a friend that I want to like get to know more, or even my friends that aren't Christian. Like I don't want to just be frivolous. I want to like deepen our relationship and get to know like their journey more too, you know, and that kind of thing.
For sure.
So breaking some things down, I feel like just like breaking, you know, getting to the root of certain things. Obviously, a good friend is like iron sharpens iron. We talked about that. Like speaking truth to one another.
Yeah.
You know, what are some things that matter to you when it either comes to, you know, a Christian relationship or like a Christian friend? You know, what are things that are really important to you?
Yeah, it's hard. I feel like we already like said everything, but
I know.
Again, iron sharpens iron. Like what I'm looking for in a friend is like honesty. Honestly, like just be honest with me and like help me become a better version of myself, you know? Like not being like dependent on that, but also it's like I want to have like good conversations. Like let's talk about something that actually matters. Like what are we spending our time? Like you kind of mentioned like what are you investing your time in? It's like what are we together as friends like investing our time in, you know? Like I had friends before who like honestly like we didn't have the best friendships. Like we're not friends anymore because we just had fun. Like that's all. Like we didn't have any like depth in our relationship, you know, in our friendship. And so like it's like in the long run, like that's just not gonna like work. It's not gonna last. And so it's like I'm not just looking for fun. Also, although like obviously that has to be
fun is
in
a
there,
factor.
but like let's get deep and like let's see if we actually connect in that depth. You know, like can we talk about Jesus and like can we challenge each other? Like I love when friends challenge each other. Like that is so amazing because like I feel like you challenge me a lot and like
the way me for like, sure.
But also it's like my personality is like very like introverted, and so I feel like I'm definitely
like just now hearing of this. Like I had no idea. I did not get that vibe whatsoever. But like,
well, that's the thing. It's like deep down in my heart, for sure, an introvert. Like was definitely a shy girl growing up, you know. And so it's like it took me like moving to places, going to Bible school, and like whatever, like to learn to actually to just gain that skill and like how to like talk to people and like Morgan is obviously so much better
girl what
girl, I'm just saying like you challenge me like
but
you
know that
to
where I
be
struggle
more
though
out. No, of course, but it's like in this one thing it's like the one thing that like I struggle with sometimes. Like you're helping me, like you're challenging me, like oh my goodness, like she's such a natural at that, like, you know, it's like
thanks, Queen.
I want to be more like that. And like obviously like the more time I spend with her, like I'm starting to become like her, you know. So it's like whoever you invest your time in, you're gonna start acting like them. That's just inevitable.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to know your circle. And you know, if you guys are all in the gym, then you're all in the gym. And you know, if you're sitting around a bunch of hard workers, you're gonna start working hard. So if you're sitting around people that are doing the opposite, you're gonna start looking like that. And you know, also for you, you're really great at putting yourself in someone else's shoes and seeing the other perspective. And I feel like I have a hard time doing that sometimes. And that's where, because a lot of times I've had to be humble and be like, okay, this is where I need to back it up. And, you know, one of the questions that we got from the Instagram drop, I asked, you know, for the podcast, was someone said, you know, as a Christian, whether it's a Christian friend or non-Christian friend, like how do you deal when someone hurts you? Like a friend hurts you, maybe whatever that looks like. And I was thinking about it, and like for me, I've been really hurt by Christian friends. I've also hurt, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm also probably the villain in some people's stories, and so and we're human, you know. Like that's the thing is, you know, God calls us to forgive, but also we look in the Bible and there's examples of like healthy boundaries. If something's not healthy, and you cut it off, you know, but you can still forgive and all these things. So I really think, in my opinion, it's based on each circumstance and the season and what God's calling you to do. The number one you have to do, like number one thing is just go to God and ask him what he wants you to do.
100%.
And like let him guide that relationship and friendship. But it's not easy. Like he weeps when we weep, you know, like our heartbreak and all of that. But I mean, that's, I'll obviously let you speak to that too, but you know, I think if God is separating something and allowing you to have space to try to fill that with him and maybe something new, like definitely it's okay to grieve that friendship and cry about it or talk, you know, whatever you're going to do, go to therapy, but like heal, like allow those parts of you to heal. But you know, have to understand that he has a plan through that. You know, that's, I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything you said.
Thank you.
I'm like, ooh, what do I say now?
I know, I like use so many word count on that.
No, that was really good. And I love what you said in the end there, that like it's okay to actually feel that hurt. It's okay to be like, whoa, God, like that hurt, like ouch, it's okay to vent to maybe like your inner circle, but like, don't make it a habit. But to God, like I would just say, like with God everything is safe, so like vent to God, like wow, God, like that really, really hurt, and like it's okay to feel that, because like Jesus felt that too. Jesus felt betrayed, and like he was betrayed, you know what I mean? So it's like it's okay to feel and to let yourself feel, but like you said, go to God, ask God, after you vent, like, God, how do I deal with this? Like, how do I deal with this pain? How do I deal with this hurt? And also, how do I deal with this person? Like, maybe, and like you said, it's very circumstantial, so like it's hard to say like this way or this way. It's
right.
It really depends on the situation. But like I've had it before where like there's some friends who like they hurt me, and like I kind of like I was very unhealthy with dealing with it, so I was just like pushed everything under the rug. And so I was like, oh, whatever, like I'll forgive, whatever, like forget about it. And it would just keep happening on and on and on, where it's like eventually I was like, oof, like okay, that's really, really hurting me, like and it's like not stopping. And so it's like, God, like how do I deal with this? And eventually it was like, you need to honestly stop being friends with this person, because they're not changing anything. Like they keep hurting you in the same ways. And it's like sometimes it was intentional, and sometimes it's like it was very like they knew what they were doing, and so it's like in that case, like for me it was like yes, I should have like had the conversation with that friend and be like, hey, like you're hurting me by doing this, because there are situations where sometimes a friend does something that like they don't realize it's hurting you, and so it is really good to like have open conversations, like communicate and like be like, hey, this is hurting, like can we like chat about this and like see how we can like move forward. But there's certain things that it's like, okay, like
like post communication, if people want to do their own thing, then that's where
then it's like okay, like this has to be done, this friendship has to be done, and it's like and then after that it's just like letting God heal you, and like usually happened through like other friends that I had. So
communication is such an important thing, and I think like even in gossip culture, it's like you'll talk to everybody about the issue except for the person, and I was talking to one of my friends actually about toxic relationships. She had just gotten out of something that was really not good, and of course sometimes you don't see that until you're out of it. And for me, like God had spoken to me and been like, get out of this, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna do my like that. Even like that verse, like when a dog goes back to its vomit, you know what I'm saying? And this person was like, keep praying and praying that the situation would change, and I'm like, yeah, I mean if that's what God wants, so be it. But God will also like allow you to continue to be hurt if you're staying in something that he is clearly showing you like, hey, this is not the fruit of the Lord. You're not married. Like we also have to use our minds as well. And that was something where I'm like, okay, God, you've created me with this brain. Like I'm the head knowledge is like, this is not good for me. This is hurting my heart. This isn't right. So it's like, God can redeem anything, but also like he's like, hey, if you're gonna stay in something that's hurting me, like you gotta leave that. He's gonna allow us to,
that's good,
until we finally get out of something. And I think that's similar to the situation is like you said, you were continuously being showed and hurt by this situation until you had to pick up and leave. So I think that's a big thing, is like like no matter what the situation is, the Bible calls us to forgive. It's not an easy thing. It takes time for a lot of people, depending on whatever your pain and trauma and heartbreak is. But forgiveness is really healing for you, because
100%
carrying that baggage that was put on by someone else is something that you do not need to carry, and it's like it's going to burden your life. And you should have a fulfilling life. Like life is so much more beautiful than having to hold on to that every day.
And that person might not even know that you have forgiven them, and they sometimes don't even need to know. So it's like forgiveness is like not even for them, it's for you, and for you to get healing through that. And like there's so much, I mean, I've experienced a lot of freedom from just like a simple like, okay, I forgive, like I truly forgive, and like I'm trying to like move on and like heal from this, like I want healing, so I'm choosing to forgive. And it's like a lot of times I feel like sometimes we think that like forgiveness is like a feeling, but like just like love, it's actually a choice. So it's like I choose to forgive this person. Like, yes, they hurt me, yes, they suck,
right,
but I choose to forgive them because that's what Jesus did to me. And so that is like, I would say that's a choice, you know, like it's not all butterflies and like, yes, finally I feel like I'm forgiven. Sometimes like the feeling comes later and it's like you're like healed and you're like, yeah, I'm good, but like it starts with like a choice of like, I want to forgive this person, like I want to get there, you know, I'm choosing to forgive. And so like Jesus guided me through that process.
And I think some people are like, well, I don't want to forgive this person because it's a cop-out on what they did to me, right? But it's like, God is the final judge. Like, when you're reading the Bible and, like, seeing God cook and, like, things he's done, I'm like, why would I trip? Like, God keeps, you know, he's going to do what he's gonna do.
It says,
right? It's
like,
not
it
my
says
problem.
in the Bible, like, leave the vengeance to God and like continue, like, move on with your life and leave that to God. Like, he will take care of it. So like, it's not for us to be like all judgy here and like, ooh, like this person deserves this. Like, no, because like then like what happens when you hurt somebody, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like a weird, like, it's a weird thing. So it's like, leave that to God and like don't worry about that, like just move on. Like, it's just better for yourself, it's healthier.
No, I think that's great. And even just having, you know, boundaries of whatever that looks like. And even my mom was reminding me that like you know, as a Christian, like, we're gonna go through persecution, and that can look like so many different things. You know, it can look like from strangers, haters online, or even like past friends or people that don't agree. You know, it can look like different things. And so understanding that really God defines your identity. He defines who you are, and like really nothing else matters. Like, yes, we love Christian community and I feel seen and validated, and I like love, it's a blessing in my life. You know, but God is the one that defines everything about us, and
like
so,
he fights our battles. So it's like,
that's good.
Like, you don't have to defend him, you know. Like, sometimes we're like, oh, I want to defend God because this person's saying something. No, like, we don't need to do that because God can defend himself. So it's like, choose the battles that you're fighting and like give it to God at the end of the day, you know.
Obviously, like, whom shall I fear? You know what I'm saying? Like, God is in control. And exactly like you said, like, he fights our battles. So now transitioning a little bit into some girly swirly. I know we're like deep from the jump. Praise God that everything is cooking, the audio is working. Bro, God is so good. Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Girly pop. Vika, who is your favorite musical artist right now?
Oh, goodness. Okay, let me think.
Vika and I both love Christian rap, which I really appreciate because I feel like it's not super popular.
Don't ask me to choose which one I like.
I'm not going to make you choose, but I'm going to make you choose like a favorite artist to like.
Like, I'm just going to say
something.
I listen to a lot of worship. Okay. So, and like, my go-to always is Upper Room. Okay. So, perfect. Yeah,
which works
that's
out.
my go-to. I don't know.
Obviously, we're going to that conference. So,
even
first New Year's Eve not partying. We're going to Upper Room, baby. Yes, sir.
Yes. I'm so excited.
Yes, it's going to be good. Okay, Upper Room. Do you have any irrational fears?
Irrational fears?
Yeah, like, I'm obviously afraid of eyeballs. I'm actually also afraid of, like, wax statues at wax museums.
Interesting.
Super freaky, like, way too lifelike. Nobody asked, you know?
I think, like, that made me think of, like, what are those people called that, like, they're like
mannequins?
Statues? No, mannequins. They're like, no, they're like real people, like, being very still, and they're like usually on the street, and then they're like,
I hate those.
They like move or something, and you're like, oh my goodness, like, I know that you're real, and I know that once I'm passed by, you're gonna do something, you're gonna move.
Oh my gosh, I do not like those.
Freaks me out. I'm like, I know it's gonna happen, but every time I like jump.
I'm so glad we have that in common. Oh my gosh, yay! I don't like those either. Okay, obviously relationship status, like, yes, you mentioned earlier, like, we're both single, that kind of thing. Single. Okay, so,
ready to mingle.
Like, love a man of God, all those things, those are pretty obvious, but, like, are there three, like, not to say shallow, but, like, what are three things that, like, you okay, I'm gonna clip that later, because I definitely just, like, spit. What are three things that you, like, look for in a guy, or you think is, like, cute or quirky, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, are we doing, like, deep or, like, shallow?
No, like, not deep.
Because obviously, like, it has to be a believer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But, like not deep.
Okay.
Just quirky things.
Well, I'm just gonna say, like, I'm very into Hispanic, Latinos.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't force it. It just, happens.
Everyone's gonna type. Yeah.
I don't know. And this is something that's really funny, but I feel like every guy that I've dated has been a soccer player. So I guess that's another thing that I should be looking for.
You know, soccer player.
There's a little like connections there.
All right. Okay.
But I feel like another thing that's a little deeper, but not like super deeper, is like a guy who's like passionate about something, you know?
Yeah.
like
no, I'm the same way. I told my boss that one time, and he was like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "You'd be so surprised, bro."
Yeah, because like some guys, like it's like, "Oh, what are you passionate about?" And it's like, I don't know, like video games. It cannot be video games.
Okay,
like,
well,
that is a red flag for me. I'm sorry. That's just
it's
mine.
fine.
That's just
if
my
you're a very
thing.
passionate streamer and you do well, I mean, I personally sometimes am attracted to streamers.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
But I mean,
but if they have like a cool, like a good, healthy passion for something.
yes.
Like it's cool because it's like it's something that keeps them motivated. It's something that keeps them like doing something and like a little busy and not like lazy. You know, it's like I want them to be passionate about something and like
No, I love that. I would say the same thing too. Yeah. Also, like one thing I always tell guys too, especially like my brother, is, dude, invest in a great cologne. My brother's like super bougie, but seriously, like you do not understand.
Yes.
Like when a guy says like, "Wow, you smell so good," like women put so much time and effort into smelling good, and so the same thing for guys. Like if you smell so good, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what is that scent? Like what is he wearing? Like all that stuff."
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you need to go to Ulta. You need to go.
Just don't wear Axe, please.
Figure out like the cologne that speaks to you. You know, I'm like, that is such. That's what I would do.
That is so real because like it's always like, whoa, this guy smells good. So that means he has good taste,
right? And now I'm like thinking about like, wow, he smells good. Now I'm thinking about you. You know what I'm saying? It's like a psychological thing.
Yes.
So also it's I mean it's like honestly same. I mean I feel like I always talk about different things, but like there's nothing more attractive than like a guy that is a Christian leader or like locked in his faith, a funny guy, but like being confident. You know, just you don't have to be cocky, but like being confident in who you are.
Yeah.
And all of that. Also, I really, I mean, it's attractive when a guy has a good style. Doesn't need to be like crazy, but I mean, streetwear slay. So, yeah, we love a good coordinated king.
It's a very nice bonus if they can dress well. But hey, I heard this one thing where, hey, as long as he has the brains, you can always fix how he dresses. You can always dress him later.
Okay. All right. Okay, Vika, we're gonna read a Bible passage really fast. Ecclesiastes 4:9 through 10. Yes, Queen. Praise God that the audio's cooking. Like that's so good.
Yes, so good. Okay, Ecclesiastes 4:9 through 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You got it.
Yes, I got it. So 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up.
Yeah, that is so good. And I even remember when I was at church camp, there was an example of this huge, crazy horse. Like, I don't know what kind of breed this is, but they are known for being able to just, like, run super fast and carry a bunch of stuff. Right? Like, they could, like, lift almost, like, tons. And so what's crazy though is when they put 2 of the horses together, like you would take the amount, let's say for example there was like 1,000 pounds or whatever this horse could carry. You would think, okay, 2 horses, 2,000 pounds. But it wasn't like that. Like the 2 horses together, like with the synergy and then working together, it was almost like 3 or 4 times the amount of weight they could carry. And like that is how it is with having a like-minded friend or a relationship. It's not just like, oh, okay, like I'm 100, you're 100, so we're 200. It's like, no, like our energy together is like 1,000, like 1,000. You know, like our synergy us doing this, and it's our cup is overflowing. You know, and so it's just so important to have that like-mindedness and to not settle. You know, I think the enemy is always going to lie to you. You have to boss your feelings around and be like, no, this is not truth. My mind is lying to me. I need to call up my friend and be brought down to earth.
Yes.
You know, and remind myself like who God says I am. Yeah. And that's why having a friend that's going to speak that truth into you is also really important, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like also this verse like also ties down to like, you know, like me and Morgan, like at Connect, we just started like a young adults, and like me and Morgan both serve there, and I feel like, you know, we've talked about like if you didn't do it, I wouldn't do it either, you know.
I'm so bad because
But it's like because
it's mainly me saying that. Let's be real.
Okay, I didn't want to put you on the spot.
Because you can put me. I'm like serving in like 5 other areas, but I'm like, girl, I would have not volunteered for that if you didn't say. But I'm not gonna let you like do this by yourself. So.
Oh goodness. But something like practical like that is like when we both do it, like because we're friends, like it's so much more fun, and it's like, you know, when like both of our brains like work together, like we have like creative ideas, and so like it's amazing. Like it's awesome to serve with your friends. And another thing is like, if you want to find good friends, like serve at your home church. Yeah. Like actually serve, and like you will find friends when you serve as well.
Yeah. We did a podcast a couple of months ago with the Flourishing Female, which is it's an awesome story. Rachel Watson, awesome woman. But she had started a group for local women in town that, you know, married, whatever their journey is. And she was like, I just felt so lonely. Even though on the outside you'd be like, why? You have a great job, you have a great like marriage, all this stuff. And she was like, it took my vulnerability to make a video, and then I had 25 women show up to my event. And it's just kind of like, if you're feeling like you don't have community, you don't have Christian friends, like you're stuck in this season, it's all about perspective. You know, you take your pain and you put the word get in front of it, and it changes. I get to be single in Springfield with my friends. I get to do these things. And it's like, I'm feeling this way. Guess what? We have a group chat with like 60 different girls in it, even though, you know, small groups be like 6 people. It's like slay. But at one point, we all felt the same, you know? And so that's where it's like, if God is like, hey, will you lead this? Like, will you be the person to be open about your pain or your season, your vulnerability? I'm going to use it. You know, like, will you answer that call? And so, yeah, I just think it's really cool to, you know, how you feel when you open up, you know, your story of, you know, God really moved me when I was in this broken season coming out of ministry school. People like, that doesn't make sense. I came to a new place, didn't know anybody, and I had to be intentional. People can resonate with that. It's so scary having to be like that. But stepping out, being consistent. Like Vika and I hang out once a week or more. Our small group happens every other Friday. My accountability department, we talk on the phone once a week. Like that's one thing I'll say too, is being consistent. You're not going to get gains in the gym if you don't go to the gym. Or if you only go 2 days a week. Like you start small, but as you grow, you're all of a sudden you're doing 5 days a week. If Vika and I only talk once a month, we're not super duper locked in each other's lives. You know, so as you're growing Christian friends, the time of stuff really matters too, like your frequency. And so as we grow, you know, it's because I'm investing time in you and you're investing time in me as well. So I think that's also a really important factor.
That's really good.
But is there any, from the biblical side, like, is there anyone in the Bible that you really admire, or like a story that really sticks out to you that kind of resonates with you?
Well, my favorite character in the Bible is David, King David.
Oh, really? I didn't know this.
Yeah, and like for many different reasons, but mostly because he was just so real. Like he was not fake. He was just like, you know, even in his ups and in his downs, he was so real. And like every single time he was running back to God. Like why did God love him so much? Is because he was always running back to him. Like even like in his lowest moments, like he understood, like, woe me, you know, for doing this and this, like God, I'm so sorry, like I'm not worthy of your love. Like, you know, he would just always come back to God and like always like praise God, even when things were like really rough in his life. Like he would praise God. He'd had this understanding of like who God is, and like he would just always keep running back to him, like no matter what, you know. And it's like he's done some messed up things, and guess what? He still came back to God, you know? So it's like, that is like the most realest thing that you can do. And like, he was so real about like, yeah, I did this wrong, you know? And it's like, also like what I wanted to share is like, I love like in a friendship when you can actually share about your faults and like your flaws, and like, hey, I'm struggling with this, like, or like I've struggled with this in the past. And like when you can be real with your friends like that, like it is so good, because there's so much healing that comes from that, because you don't know, somebody else can be struggling with the same thing or have struggled with the same thing. So now they can encourage you and like help you. And so, and also like accountability. But like, David was just my favorite because he was real, and he always came back running like to God. So
No,
love
that's
that.
so good. And even the clip from my testimony one, you know, because the puking problem, I had posted about that like a long time ago, and then recently, like really getting deeper again about it. I mean, we had like probably like 20 comments on the clip just about women who also had dietary issues and all of that. And it's just crazy. Like, you just don't know that, again, like someone else is going through that too.
Yes.
And and obviously you were in my small group, but like someone I'm kind of obsessed with in the Bible, which I'm a huge like Abraham fan. I think his faith is goated. Yeah. So annoying. But like the Joseph of many colors, like with the coat. Yes. I like him because, well, one, I don't just think he's a cool guy, but like I feel like he goes through every emotion in the Bible, like betrayal, like just bad season after being like, God, you know, like I'm just like hurt by his family, then he's in prison, then he's forgotten, and then but he's still like ministering, he's still trusting in God. And the Bible shows it's like Joseph struggled, Joseph was lost, Joseph was confused, Joseph cried. Even when he had forgiveness with his family, he went and wept and cried and was comforted with emotion. Like the Bible highlights that. And even like what you talked about, like it's okay to be emotional, like it's okay. God may be using you and like you're using you for ministry, using you for whatever area, but it doesn't mean that like it's not hard, and like you're allowed to cry and be broken about it and need a couple of days off, you know, because we're human. Like he understands that. But it's just so cool that he obeyed God and God used him to fulfill prophecy and like bless others in the future. But I like that because it's so real. Like we go through suffering, we go through bad seasons, and because of that, like then we get to use that for his glory. I mean, Joseph got to minister while he was in prison and all these things. So I like that because I think sometimes we just think these are like fictional characters that we can't relate to. And as I'm now reading it, like the Bible through as a 25-year-old, I'm like, wow, this is actually really relatable. Like
they go through real things. So like we go through, like
so that was so good. But Vika, as we come here and end the pod, this has been so fun. Well, Vika and I, honestly, if we weren't podcasting and recording and hanging out, we would still be hanging out probably. Honestly. I know. We just went to Senor Julian last week. Yes, my dogs listen to their pods. They're the best. Like, I love their heart delicious. For Springfield and for God and for everything. Like, family place. You need to go check them out. Because as we end the pod every episode, what would you say as a word of encouragement for someone that just found God, just got saved, and has nobody? Has no Christian family, no believers and friends, feels isolated. What is the encouragement or advice you're giving to that person?
That's good.
Thanks, bro.
I feel like I have like 3.
Oh, girl, cook. I mean, come on.
Okay, here's the formula.
Y equals MX plus be kind. Loving to one another.
First of all, read John, the Gospel of John, because that is like when you are like a new believer, I feel like reading John, the Gospel of John, is like so good because it just like talks about God's love and like Jesus's love and like so good. So do that. But also I would just say, obviously, like pray, praying always, like just be real with God. Like tell him about your pain, tell him about your desires, like, tell him about like, hey God, like I want to find friends and like put people in my way, like open opportunities, open doors for me to then step out in faith. That's and good. Be like, hey, like I noticed, like, do you go to church or like you know, like however it looks like, but just like just pray that God opens those opportunities and opens your eyes to seek those people out, because sometimes we're just so focused on like our own like self that like we don't realize the people that are around us. And we don't realize like, oh, like that's a potential friend, that's a potential friend, that's a potential friend. And like it's scary, I know, but like find a home church, get plugged in. That's good. Like our church does growth track, amazing. Like you can actually get to know people through that. They do welcome parties. Like there's so many things that like the church helps in that area where you can find your community, where you can find, it's like you go to serve, you find community when you serve, when you're in a team, you find your community, because you're always gonna like
shout out red carpet.
It's like you're serving, and so you're always constantly in that community. You're there like a lot, and so you're obviously gonna eventually like become friends with those people. So and always just, you know, step out. And like if you see somebody that like you think is cool, or like somebody who you look up to, like you can be like, whoa, like they're really cool. Like,
yeah,
like Morgan's cool, you know. I want to go.
Vika's
go
cool,
up and
bro.
be her friend,
Vika's
you know.
cool.
It's like you come up and be like, yo, like, hey, I'm just looking, like, be real. I'm just looking for a community. I'm trying to build a community.
Yeah.
I want to, like, let's hang out, you know, and be intentional. Like, don't be one of those people who, you know, hey, let's hang out, but then they don't do anything. Like, you don't do anything else. It's like you have to be intentional, you know, like you actually have to try. You have to speak. You have to talk about yourself. Like, push yourself. It's uncomfortable, but like the more you do it, it's just gonna become natural. And like that's how you gain friends. And
if you're like, man, there's no small group that really fits the vibe for me, then start one. I mean, that is really how it was. I was like, I have all these Christian friends around me that are women, and we are never talking about God. And so that's when I was like, I need something chill and casual and on a weekend night, and that's what we do. And I feel like I love it, and I feel like the girls that come, like, that's just what we need. Like, it's not no makeup, you know, just like chill vibes.
It's so chill.
And so yeah. Well, thank you, Vika, so much for coming on the podcast and being patient as we have struggled bus tonight. But God is good. As we end the pod, every time we end, of course, the same way. Favorite song currently, favorite quote, and what do you want your legacy to be? Girl, we've had 4 tries to get this locked in, girl.
Song. Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's like all time. It can be if you want. Yeah. Just gonna double check what this is.
I feel like I need to like check my like Wrapped or something. My Spotify Wrapped.
Do it.
Okay. Let's see. I'm
an Apple Music girly. I support the Spotify queens, but I'm not the biggest fan of Spotify, to be honest.
So I think right now, like on replay, it's a song by Abby Gamboa. It's also by Upper Room, but Abby Gamboa sings it. It's called "The Earth Sings Worthy." It's just like a praise song, and like especially in the mornings, like that's like my anthem. It's just like I like to start my mornings with like praising God, like before I get to like Jesus, help me, I need this. It's like God, like you're so worthy, you know, and like that song makes me emotional.
Oh, I love that. No, I love it.
Yeah, it's a really good song.
Favorite quote or verse or whatever.
Oh my goodness, I literally have it popped up. Oh my goodness, it's something actually that you posted, and like,
oh really?
I've like heard of something.
Did your phone have a phone case this whole time, or
it did not have a phone case?
You're just out here in life with no phone case.
It literally broke, so.
That is wild. I
need to get a new phone case, guys.
I'm like, you are a strong
But anyways, I feel like this also just like kind of summarizes like everything that we talked about. But it's our identity comes from who we are following.
That's good.
And I would even say who we spend time with. Yeah. So like who we invest time with. So like our identity, like who we are, you know, as a person, it literally is like, who are you following? Who are you investing time in?
We all worship something.
Exactly.
And a lot of times it's ourselves, and that's where we have to die to ourselves.
Yes.
And let God do that. But that's so cool that you like that from the dump, because sometimes so I'm just like, I don't know what to do, but I'm like, this speaks to me. So it's cool to see that even just like God use us, you know, together or whatever and all the things. That's good though. That's good, Vika. And then legacy, when you're gone away someday.
Yes.
What do you want people to remember Vika as?
I just like want people to remember me. I feel like kind of how I think of like David, you know, it's like I want people to remember me as like, whoa, she was like obedient, she was faithful to God, and she was so real. Like even when she made mistakes, even when, you know, she fell, like she was so real, and she just kept going back to God.
That's good.
And like they could find like an example from that. Like they could be encouraged by that and be like, okay, like she did that, like I can do that too, you know. It's like even if I fall, like it's okay, like there's still hope, you know. There's still like God gives us so many second chances, you know. Like he's like, just get back up, like let me help you. So
that's so good. That's so good. Thank you so much, girlies, really, for coming on the pod.
Yes, thank you for having me.
At the Bass Pro headquarters in Springfield, Mo, land of the Johnny Morris, home of the brave. Guys, be sure to follow the podcast page on everything. Really put notifications on when we drop all the details for the event. I really would love to have you guys come in. It's open to the public. We don't know what God's gonna do, but we're just stepping out in faith and being like, we want an amazing night.
Yeah, we're like,
we want
Holy
to have
Spirit,
so much fun.
Like, lead it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The Packers are gonna make the playoffs. Obsessed with every person on that team. Go Pack, go. But yeah, I mean, I think that's all that we have. I'm really excited about everything that's coming. I'm so grateful for everything God gave me. I never would have thought I was in Springfield this long, but I'm so blessed that I'm like, I look around and I'm just blessed. And I love what
Same
I have.
girl.
And so it's kind of like, thank God I'm in the thick of it still, and I don't understand because like, work is good, friends are good, God is good, church is good, you know, in my neighborhood. Okay. Yeah.
And it's like in the midst of the good, you know, there's obviously struggles and stuff, but it's like, but it's like looking at the bigger picture, like, man, like it's good, you know, like even in the struggles, like God is teaching, God is working, and so
So love you guys so much. Also, if it spoke to you, please always like let us know. DM, share it, comment, whatever it is. Like it encourages us that we're doing the right thing. Like God is using this, and it's, you know, we don't know. We just trust. We're having fun regardless, so we don't really care. But also we do care. We love you guys so much. Make sure you have the best night. We hope you have a great Christmas. Spend time with family and have good rest. And remember to always keep on keeping up with cash. Okay, bye.
Bye.
We want to say a big thank you to all of our guests on today's show.
Live, laugh, love you guys. Bye.